Because what's more fun than starting off this video with a personalized, homemade, low-carb, high-protein pizza. Yum. It's still hot because I just took it out of the oven, but I'm really excited about this, guys. Super excited. Yum. Oh my gosh. I probably should have taken a picture of it, but you know, it's for the tube, not the gram. Yum. I do have to calculate the macros still. Check it out. Yum. Definitely the best crust that I've ever made. It's gluten-free. It is almond flour based with an egg, and I ground up some spinach. That's why it is green, but it's super fluffy, lightweight. I added some Vital Proteins collagen to it. Get even more protein in this meal. So good. Wow. Sometimes I outdo myself, and it's pretty fun when that happens. Now that I'm enjoying this mouth orgasm right now, I'm going to tell you guys what's in it and a little bit about how long I've been experimenting with homemade pizza crust. It's been forever. For a while I was trying to do whole wheat, and then I started cutting wheat out of my diet, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do gluten-free crust. Well, half the time those turn out like bricks. So I started researching more about like softer pizza crusts. A lot of people recommended almond flour. So I started experimenting with almond flour. I've also done cauliflower crust. The cauliflower crust for me is hit or miss. Most of the time they're too soggy, but I think the reason this one turned out so good is because I just watched a YouTube video about doing an almond crust and what they do with the toppings separately. Huh? Cook them separately! Why have I not done that? But I tried it today and it worked out awesome. So I think from now on, whenever I make a homemade pizza, I'm cooking the crust and I'm cooking the toppings on stovetop, and then you combine them together and it's perfect. So, ingredients. The crust. It is about 1/4 cup, a little bit less, of almond flour, baking powder, it was just a touch, sea salt, black pepper, oregano, and 1 whole egg, about 1 or 2 tablespoons of egg whites, I didn't measure them, 1 scoop of Vital Proteins collagen peptides, 1 scoop, and a little bit, I shouldn't say a little bit, about 1/3 cup of fat-free feta cheese. And I mixed it all in a bowl, and when I did that, it was super wet. So you cannot put it onto the pan unless you have heavily sprayed it or use parchment paper. I prefer parchment paper, and that's what I did. So I used my pizza pan, parchment paper, and then I poured on and used a spatula to spread out the dough. Don't touch it with your hand because it's gonna be super sticky and you're gonna make a mess. Trust me, I've learned from experience. And you put it in the oven at 400 degrees for, I think I did 15 minutes. No, I did 10 minutes. So do 10 minutes. You don't want to overbake it. And it comes out super soft and fluffy. Yum. Yum. Alright, now I'm gonna officially eat it. So I told you what's in the crust. The toppings. I put some Roma tomato and basil in the oven, and I put it on broil for about 5 to 10 minutes. I overdid the basil. Whoops. Some broccoli sprouts. I added turkey bacon that I cooked stove top. There are some shiitake mushrooms, sea salt, red pepper flakes, and more fat-free feta. So good, in case you guys want to try it out. What's up, everyone? Just doing a little update here after the Arnold. I dropped 3.5 pounds this week, which is really good. I'm on track, about 9.5 weeks out now, and you know, going with the process. Some things have changed. I think I'm doing it for a different show now, and my cardio's increased, my carbohydrates have decreased, but overall I'm still pretty healthy. Not having any achiness in my joints. I'm a little tired. I started a new job, so that's part of it. But overall, feeling really good. Still being able to push pretty significant weight in my compound movements. And all in all, those are really good signs. Another factor that shows my hormones and my health are in a really good spot right now is I'm still regular with my period. And that's something I wanted to speak very closely about, especially for other females who are considering competing, have competed in the past, or are competing now and have had issues regulating their periods. I have a few different resources that I use to keep my hormones leveled and balanced that are still prep friendly, if you will, and I'm going to talk a little bit about those, specifically how FOS and DIM, the two supplements that I add in, can help a lot, and what they are a little bit more in depth. So one thing when it comes to tracking your period is not just knowing when it's going to start and end, but monitoring your flow. How are you feeling beforehand? How is your skin responding? Monitoring how much you're cramping. How severe are the cramps? How severe is the flow? Knowing all these things is really important, and one thing my coach actually taught me is to start taking my temperature in the morning, not necessarily for my period health, but for my metabolism. And you can also take it on your regular everyday to monitor your cycle and to know when you're actually going to start ovulating. And the best way is to use a basal thermometer because it will measure to 1/100th of the decimal point, and that way you can be more accurate because it can jump pretty dramatically depending on what you're doing in that period of time, how your sleep is, etc. So the two supplements that I recommend for anyone to help monitor their hormone levels and keep their period during a cutting phase or a caloric deficit in competition prep especially is phosphodiesterone. I'm going to spell it out because it's really difficult to say. It's abbreviated PS, as well as DIM. So phosphodiesterone, I might not even be saying it right. It's an amino acid that you typically can't get from regular foods in your diet that you're going to eat. It's really hard to come by, so that's why I supplement it with a supplement. It is a fat-soluble phospholipid that helps with cell development, and especially those in your brain. So if you think about when you are in a cutting phase and you're minimizing certain foods with certain vitamins and nutrients in them, you are also limiting your brain to those resources and nutrients that help stimulate your mind. So when you add in something like a phosphodiesterone, it's actually putting those nutrients back into your brain to help rebuild some of those cells that will help you stay focused. It helps lower your cortisol, and it helps remove and minimize some of that anxiety you can get. And it also helps just with nutrient delivery, your water, and your metabolic waste. So I usually take it morning and night, or I'll take the full dosage in the morning, and usually before my fasted cardio, but before something that's going to stress me out. The other supplement that I find is very important for balancing your female hormones is DIM, and I'm going to write down its full chemical name because it's really hard for me to pronunciate. but essentially DIM is found in most cruciferous vegetables. However, for a female, you actually need to increase your intake almost double of what you can get on a day-to-day basis from greens, especially if you're in a cutting period. So for me right now, I have 2 or 3 meals a day that I have greens. And granted, they all have DIM in them, but 1 cup of broccoli is not going to get me to my daily intake needs of DIM. Now, in addition to that, I will say that broccoli and Brussels sprouts have been the 2 I've had the most success with. You might find something different for you, but they have the most concentrated amount of DIM per serving size, and most of my serving sizes are 1 cup. I'm also adding in bok choy as one of my greens to change it up, and actually I'm changing that instead of doing spinach. Kale I'm also replacing instead of spinach because it has a higher content of DIM to help with that estrogen metabolism and balance. So the more that I'm studying and learning about these specific compounds and elements that are in the foods that we eat that maybe we're not getting enough of, or our body's not digesting it properly so that we get those full nutrients, it's making it more important that you supplement them into your day-to-day basis.